Okay, let's talk about this stupid movie. So, Joker Folie. That name is French. Folie. It means it's a French term for madness of two, and it's.
I went to the bathroom after it came out. They were waiting for me, and they were like, "That was terrible." And I was like, "You know what, guys? You might think I'm crazy, but I kind of enjoyed it."
I'm working on letting people have their opinions. That was you sounded almost like Joaquin. That noise you just did. So basically, being less judgmental and accepting other people's opinions is valid outside of my opinion. And so I respect your right to your opinion.
Welcome to Backseat Directing.
We talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
Forgot how we do this.
Welcome to Backseat Directing.
We talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And today we're doing a movie review on the Joker 2.
3, 2, 1, action.
Did you just do a little hop tua in there?
It's my version, my mix of the cult, because in French it's like deux. So I was doing deux. That's the Americanized version for all you French viewers out there. I'm sure we have many. Yeah, it's actually, so I told you we're not going to pronounce it correctly, but it's actually folie à deux, I think. Folie à deux.
Folie à deux.
Folie à deux.
Folie à deux.
I think I'm thinking we nailed it.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you have any knowledge of French. Let us know when we messed that up.
Yeah, but they're probably wrong.
Yeah, we're probably right.
Yeah,
we haven't been known to mess up on here once. In the intro to this episode, we didn't mess up.
No. We're excellent with our word delivery.
So 2 things. I didn't point at myself when I said my name, which I always do, and I did. And I was thinking about the Joker's backstory about a source code segment as we were doing the opening, and I was like, I just boofed it because I was thinking about other stuff.
We took a week off from actually recording, so we're a little rusty.
There was a natural disaster. Guys, listen, there was a natural disaster. That's what it takes for us to not, and we did get all of our episodes out on the days they belong to come out, which is to not record a week. That's what it takes is for 2 hurricanes in Florida back to back.
Yeah.
So the second hurricane we didn't record, but.
And you want to know it's still standing? Backseat Directing's podcast video.
Even with the 2 storms, we still put out faithfully Monday episode, Thursday episode.
Boom.
That's what we do here.
That's right.
The dedication.
Even if you don't remember which days that we actually post them.
Yeah. Why? Did I say the wrong days?
No, you didn't say them on our first attempt.
Right. Okay, let's talk about this stupid movie. So, Joker Folie à deux. That name is French. Folie à deux. It means it's a French term for madness of two, and it's a psychological principle that has to do with a shared delusion between 2 people. So when they debuted the name,
the director and studio,
the delusion that they're going to make a profit. The delusion for Warner Brothers that they were going to triple the budget of the first movie and triple the $1 billion that the first movie made, and in reality, they 10th the revenue of the first movie.
Brutal.
So this movie's not opening to very large applause, whether financially or audience approval.
Yeah,
critically or audience. So we'll get into all that. Aaron's, I'm sure, going to have those scores for us. But I did just want to briefly say what our first impressions of the movie are when we get started. Here is usually what we go through. Aaron, I'll let you go first for a change because you always are kind to ask me, and you are the positive, uplifting side of this review. We watched this movie, a week and a half ago now?
Yeah.
Like the weekend it came out.
In between the 2 hurricanes somewhere.
Yeah.
Was where we...
somewhere between death and disaster.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on the Joker 2?
So we got out of this movie, and I was with Andrew and Andrew's girl, and I went to the bathroom after it came out. They were waiting for me, and they were like, "That was terrible." And I was like, "You know what, guys? You might think I'm crazy, but I kind of enjoyed it." And they looked at me like I was the craziest person in the whole world. And yeah, looking back at it, I still think that it was a decent movie. It was enjoyable. Was the story the best? No. But every other aspect of this film I thought was phenomenal. And for whatever reason, it kept me in the film the whole time. Every single frame was a poster. And I really love it when movies go all out on the cinematography. I thought the sound was really good. Interesting choice to make it a musical. I also didn't think Lady Gaga sounded as good as Lady Gaga is.
We know Lady Gaga can sing.
Yeah.
It
kind of didn't it sound like she was like singing under her breath?
It sounded
like she was like
breathy.
hiding it.
At some points, it sounded like even sharp or flat at moments, which Lady Gaga would never do unless told to specifically to do.
I'm not musically inclined at all. I'm probably the least musically inclined person you'll ever meet. So I don't want to judge the singing too harshly.
I think the singing, it was done that way to make it seem less polished. They wanted it, because the world is gritty. They're, institutionalized psychopaths in the story. And they wanted them to seem more off the cuff and not as polished. But
I didn't think it was bad necessarily, but it wasn't as like powerful as you would expect from hiring
Lady Gaga
in the role.
Yeah. One of the best singers to grace the face of the earth.
Right.
And in Star is Born, she's amazing.
Right.
Whether it's the singing or the acting, she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Which is why I was excited for her performance specifically in this movie. Probably more than anything outside of like the visuals.
Yeah. So what are your first thoughts? I kind of spoiled it a little bit, but what do you want to tag on to what I said already?
I've been working on myself, and I've been telling myself
this movie was so bad that you had to do some soul searching.
I've been in the Himalayas meditating. I'm working on letting people have their opinions. You sounded almost like Joaquin. That noise you just did. So basically being less judgmental and accepting other people's opinions as valid outside of my opinion. And so I respect your right to your opinion. Coming out of the theater, I had some choice words for you. I was
like, gosh, are these two even my friends?
Dude, we were out there.
Am I their friend or am I the piece of trash that's floating on the sidewalk right now?
We were flaming that movie for 10 minutes before you came out, and you just did not match the energy that we had about the movie.
I was strolling out vibing, man.
My mindset when you were like, had positive things to say about the movie, my mindset was very much, what the hell is wrong with you? This movie is, I wouldn't say it's the most disappointing in the movie of the year because I didn't have super high hopes for it. Because unlike a lot of people, I wasn't a big fan of the first Joker. I do think that there's a huge camp of people along with me that are big fans of the character of the Joker. I say this every time. I
don't even know what side.
I love
so used to looking in the mirror. It's like flipped,
Yeah, that's what's the reverse. Exactly. Thanks for defending me. People who are big fans of the Joker, I think, tend to not like the Joker film from 2019 because it was just so far outside of the common Joker that we've all come to know and love from comics, video games, animated and live action adaptations of the past. It's its own thing that it's almost frustrating, or it is frustrating if you're a fan, because they've just changed his character so drastically for this. And I know it's been said before, it's the dead horse been beaten to death, but it's very clearly Todd Phillips was very impressed with Martin Scorsese's work on movies like Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, trying to match that tone, trying to match that character, very much the character study ideal. The character arc is a big factor of Taxi Driver, a big factor of the first Joker, but it just does not feel like Joker. And although the visual is great, I like the first one more than this one. This one just strayed even further from the character. It strayed further from what I felt like was the character development arc of the first movie. It felt like they went back on it, back and forth. And it felt like the introduction of the music, while interesting in concept because it has to do with this shared delusion between people seeing themselves in kind of a magical, alternate realm of song that's not going on in the real world, it's going on in their minds. It's interesting conceptually. I like when movies use magic realism, but I found myself bored to death at every song except for one. I like the song in the courtroom, Always the Joker, that's the rule. I like that one song in a whole musical. I mean, I feel like I should at least have a couple, like I should at least have 3 songs I like in the whole musical. The other ones were just putting me to sleep. I wanted the movie to be over. I don't think it can stand alone on the fact that it looked good, which I do agree with you that it looked very good. I have a lot of emotions about this movie. I love the Joker. I think he's a very interesting character, best villain of all time. I love comic representations. He's really cool in Scott Snyder's comics for Batman. This tattoo is from The Killing Joke from Alan Moore. So I like the character a lot. My favorite representation is always going to be Mark Hamill, followed closely by Heath Ledger. But Mark Hamill through the Arkham games, I think, is my favorite, best representation of the character. And this is nothing like that. There's none of the manipulation. There's none of the raw intelligence and scheming. There's none of the madness and love for chaos. It's purely just a highly disturbed individual who seems lost more than anything. He wants to take on this persona that distantly resembles the Joker, but then he's scared too. More than anything, he just seems afraid, confused, and lost. And there's no power behind him. There's no symbolism behind him like there was with Heath Ledger's Joker and his ideals about chaos. It felt like very, very heavy, themes for that Joker. The idea of chaos, the idea of people expecting a truckload of soldiers to get blown up, but getting shocked when something happens in their city. Our desensitization to violence in that sense. He had a message, even if he was a very twisted individual. He had a message. This Joker's message is all over the map, and it goes back and forth from the Joker to Joker 2.
I have 2 questions for you, and then we'll kind of get into our ratings, earnings, and creators.
I'm locked in. Hit me.
First question. How do you draw the line when dealing with a character that's already developed and created and interpreting it in a new way? And then the second question, would these 2 movies be better if they were just called something else?
Yes.
But everything would be the exact same.
I'll answer the second question first. Yes, they would be better. The first one I think would be demonstrably better. I think I would actually like the first one quite a bit, and it'd probably jump up like 1.5 stars on my rating.
That's a big jump out of 5,
I'm
assuming.
Yeah, out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. That's my brain goes. But the first one, I would have just called it Happy. Happy the Clown. That's what his mom called him. I would have just called it Happy and had it focused on like the mental decline in a desensitized society and apathetic world and what that does to a person in a big city where you're surrounded by millions of people but you feel so alone. Interesting, right? That's really what Taxi Driver did.
And then they can market it as Taxi Driver meets Joker.
Yeah, they could still say that. I mean, that's what every movie does.
Yeah.
What have they been saying this year? That every movie is they're saying the new Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah,
everything's the new Silence of the Lambs this year. So yeah, I think that would up it a ton. And you said why? Because I have an image in my head of the Joker, and I don't feel like this is unfair at all to them because when they choose to name it Joker and take that brand into it, they're taking the expectation into it. And I think I'm perfectly comfortable. Let's get into the second question along because it kind of blends. Where do you draw the line when you're doing interpretation and straying away from the character and putting your own mark on it, right? Mm-hmm. I think that it's important to put your own mark on it because otherwise it's stale if we see the same Joker over and over again. And through years and years, even in comics, the Joker, we've seen different versions. We've seen that gangster version of the Joker where he's more like a mob boss. We've seen that pure chaos version of the Joker like in Heath Ledger where he's just a madman. And we've seen like a more brutal version of the Joker where he physically gets involved and is more capable in hand-to-hand combat and is more involved in his own terms. So there's various, because he's so eclectic in terms of his mind wandering in every direction, there's different ways to approach the Joker. But I think you draw the line at keeping the core tenets of the personality intact. Like he's still a madman, still chaotic. He still is violent and loves violence. I think that is key. The intelligence is key. The manipulation is key. Him being manipulated by Lee Quinzel in this movie instead of him normally manipulating and being that Stockholm syndrome type love interest for Harley Quinn as just a reversal that completely took away from the character's like main foundation, you know. And we talk about this a lot with the Acolyte.
The Joker is just crazy to be crazy.
Yeah,
Some people just want to see the world burn.
and this guy was just crazy because he was sad, lonely, pathetic.
Mentally ill.
It was more
Yeah.
embarrassing than anything for that character, which a villain. I mean, I definitely don't think he should be idolized the way a lot of people treated him in the first movie. He should not be idolized at all. I definitely want to make that very clear. Somebody doing these things shouldn't be like, oh, he's so cool. He's, you know, wow, he stands on his own.
That's what people do, though.
Yeah.
People do that in the real world.
In the real world, they do.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, as art, as a viewer, you shouldn't idolize and lionize that kind of personality. There should be a healthy level of fear to it. But in order for a villain to be intimidating, they can't just be purely embarrassing.
Right.
So I guess that's where I would draw the line. Is audiences are going to feel how they're going to feel, and they're not always going to agree with, you know, me, you, the other person on the street. But those core tenets should be still true to the character.
Okay.
Did I answer all the aspects of the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did good. Let's get into our ratings, earnings, and creators, both in front of and behind the camera. Before I do, I want to say thank you so much for watching. And make sure you hit that subscribe button because that's going to help out the channel a ton. Share with a friend if you can. We also have a Discord where you can join in on the conversation. It's pricey, I know.
How much is it?
It is totally free. So click on that link and join in on the conversation on our Discord. All right. This movie, Joker Folie, came out.
Folie Deux.
Folie.
I honestly don't know.
Folie.
I don't know why I'm correcting you like I know.
Duh.
D-U-H, like duh.
Duh.
Obviously.
2024, rated R, 2 hours and 18 minutes long. IMDb has it at a 5.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter has it a 33% with 331 reviews from critics and a 32 popcorn percent, which is the audience score with 5,000 plus verified ratings. The budget for this movie, $200 million, which is pretty standard these days for these big blockbuster movies, especially if it's attached to a superhero entity.
Yeah, but like I said, 3 times higher than the budget for the first movie.
Damn. Really?
Yeah.
Is it what increased so much? Just the cast?
Well, they made $1 billion with the first movie, so they were like, "Here, Todd Phillips, take all our money." But it looks the same.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe more production elements that would have been harder to achieve with less money, like incredibly long oneers. You know?
Yeah,
With
they
a lot of
did.
moving parts.
They did have a lot of oneers and maybe all the stage like singing stuff.
Yeah, that oneer at the end, I mean, they
was
probably had to
awful.
close down a lot of streets for that. And then, like
Yeah.
you said, the production elements of that, especially that one portion where it's like on a rooftop, that's like a whole set that
Yeah.
they built.
Okay, the box office, and it's been out for what, 2 weeks now, would you say, at the time
Yeah.
of filming this? $164.9 million. So it has yet to make its budget back in 2 weeks. And we know the longer a movie stays in the theaters, the sharper the decline from week to week, almost or pretty much exponentially. So it is not looking good for the Joker Folie.
So I misspoke.
Folie.
Do.
Folie
Do.
Duh. So it's like a do and a duh.
Yeah. I think that's it. It's like French is like un, deux, trois, I think.
Yeah.
I could be.
Yeah.
Okay, so I misspoke. It's actually a budget of 4 times as much. The first one was 55 million.
No way.
Yeah. That's what IMDb has. And it made 1.07 billion. So
It came out in 2019.
19. So it's a 5-year anniversary when they put out this one, 2024. Dude, they multiplied the budget by 4 and they've made only 150 million when last time they made 1.07 billion. So they've never going to reach that.
164. Don't cut it short.
So right now they'll probably get a quarter. They probably multiplied the budget by 4 and divided the return by 4.
How do you go from
Dude, ask
4 times your budget?
ask Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom.
All right, we don't have to talk about that now.
We're gonna talk about our box office draft later.
All right, going on to the creators, both in front of and behind the camera, Andrew. This is the portion where we pay respect to those who make this movie. Making a movie is not easy. No one sets out to make a bad movie. So we want to pay our respects to everyone who worked really hard on this movie.
Yeah, I gotta remember to why are you trying? You make me feel bad.
I'm just happy to be here.
They had some good elements. Okay, so the director of the movie is obviously Todd Phillips, also the director of the first movie. We have a lot of the same people returning. And then the movie was co-written with Scott Silver and Todd Phillips, with other writing credits for characters who, or for the people who created the Joker, created for the comic book. The music is also the same individual. I'm so sorry, I'm never going to be able to pronounce this last name.
Folie, Deux.
The music's by Hildur Guandotir. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
If you say it fast enough, it sounds right.
Cinematography again by Lauren Scher, returning from the first movie, and editing by Jeff Groth. And then we've got our stars in the movie. Obviously, we've got Joaquin Phoenix playing Arthur Fleck / the Joker. We've got Lady Gaga playing Lee Quinzel, who is their interpretation of Harley Quinzel, which is Harley Quinn. And then Brendan Gleeson as Jackie Sullivan, who is like the head guard at Arkham State Prison. Catherine Keener as Marianne Stewart, and Zazie Beetz returning as Sophie, the neighbor from the first movie, but very briefly in this film. It's almost cameo-esque.
That felt really quick.
Yeah. So who's your favorite performer? Well, let's go into the scores, because we'll talk about that with acting.
Yes. So we rate films with 6 different categories. This helps us create helps us take out the bias when we're rating movies, because just off of gut reflex, Andrew would give this movie like a 1, and that's not fair to all the aspects of this movie.
I think I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd.
Okay, so like a 4. Much better. That's like on the same level as The Flash, which is crazy. That's crazy.
I mean,
that's crazy.
This movie and The Flash, which one was more entertaining?
This one. Anyways, our first category is story, and we consider this one the most important part. You want to start us off here? This is 10 points here. We got our story element. We've already talked a lot about the story, so we don't have to go into too much more, so we can get to every other category. But
let's just go right back to back with it. You go yours, I'll go mine right off. It's out of 10.
6.
2.
That's got to be the lowest you've ever given a movie story. I think
it probably is crazy. It probably is the lowest. There's just nothing in this story for me to enjoy. The love story is a corrupted version of what it's supposed to be from the comics, and even removing the comic element entirely from this whole movie, which is why I say I like the first movie better. If you were to take Joker's name out of it, even removing the comic element from Joker 2, I still find the story unenjoyable, boring. This love story goes nowhere. I don't get why she's in love with him and obsessed with him. He doesn't seem lovable in any way. He doesn't have any of the pride or swagger or, exaggerated confidence that this character should have that would ignite the response from the community towards him. It just seems like that melted away as soon as he walked off of Murray's stage after shooting him at the end of the first movie. So I don't understand a lot of the elements. I said I didn't enjoy the musical component. I didn't enjoy the songs themselves. Felt like it. A lot of people have said that it's been interrupting the story. I felt like that every time the story had a little bit of flow to it. Felt like the music would interrupt it. I found myself going, "Oh no," when they would institute a song into the plot. So this plot just was not there for me. Like I didn't have a single character that I liked. Who am I supposed to like in the movie? I guess the lawyer. Catherine Keener's character, the lawyer, who's actually trying to do a good job defending him. But even then, it's like, this guy doesn't deserve defense. I mean, everybody deserves a fair trial, but this is like a horrible person, so it's even hard to root for his defense attorney.
I did drop mine to a 5.
Just talking to me? Or based on what?
I think this was where I wanted it originally, but today where I was writing it, I gave it a 6.
You were thinking about counterbalancing me in advance?
Yes, I think so. You make good points that I couldn't argue of why it would be better. So I think a 5 is where I sit.
I started at a 3 and I lowered it to a 2.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think of positive things to say about it to give it a 3. I don't have anything.
I think the reason why I can give it a 5 over your 2 is because I'm not as attached to the comic character, the Joker. So like to me, they're not doing this huge, big disservice to this character that I'm
IP.
so attached to. Yeah. That's all I got.
It's just-
I mean, it's
all you have is why it's not more egregious. Nothing positive.
a 5 is already pretty low. That's got to be one of the lower story ratings I've ever given.
I don't know. Like, could you pick anything you enjoyed about the story itself?
Give me time.
We'll circle back to that after these commercial breaks. If you think of something, tell me.
I liked the opening sequence that wasn't connected to anything.
Oh yeah, that was great. That
was really cool.
Potentially the best part of the movie. That and the courtroom scene when he's
The courtroom
singing
scene was
his
really
mind.
cool.
That animation was really, really cool, crisp.
Yep.
There was actually, did you notice in the background of that scene, one of the people at the fans at the entryway of the red carpet is holding the sign that he had stolen from him at the beginning of the first movie.
Oh no.
It's like a everything must go sign for like a business.
Oh, okay.
Business.
That's cool.
Little Easter egg.
I do enjoy the character development, which I know you hate this part, but like viewing it as like maybe not the Joker, which I know you can't do because they are saying that this is the Joker, of him like kind of going back and forth and doubting himself and wanting to perform and then like realizing that like that's not what he wants to be.
It's just so confusing because the Joker would never like step back and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm shaking in my boots. I feel bad for what I did. Like so much remorse."
It's an interesting character study. It's just the wrong character.
Yeah.
You know? Which I think is deserving of a 5. You know, like I think the movie would be elevated if it wasn't the Joker.
But unfortunately it is.
Since it is, that took away. You know, maybe this would be like a 7.
Maybe it would be for me like more like a 4 if it wasn't 4 or 5.
Yeah, so both of ours jump up 2-ish.
But I just feel like it's a very boring plot wise.
Yeah.
It's so little happens in the whole plot.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other like cinematic kind of drama movies that are also kind of boring, you know, that we hold at higher regard than a 2 and a 5.
Like Blade Runner, I feel like his story is not the strongest for me, but I still feel like it's a pretty darn good story. Like this movie, they're basically going back and forth between Arkham and the courthouse the whole movie, and then back to Arkham at the end. And Blade Runner, you go all over the place and has all kinds of different sets and plot lines, subplots, and
well, they had a bunch of different sets in this too, like in the musical numbers and stuff.
They're just far more elaborate and interesting in Blade Runner.
All right. Want to move on to our next category?
Yeah.
All right. Our next category is acting. This is also out of 10. This is all the performance that we see. So we got the actual like delivery of dialogue, how well these characters are in character, and in this case, their singing ability, any stunt work that was happening, all that. So, Andrew, out of 10, you want me to go first? And then
Yeah,
you
go
say
ahead.
right after?
Yeah.
I give it a 7.5.
Me too.
Out of 10. I thought the acting for everyone's role was very, very good. I did take off a half point. I had it at an 8, took off a half point for Lady Gaga not singing to her full capacity.
Well, for the singing overall, because Joaquin's singing was never that strong in the movie either.
Yeah, but like, is it the character? Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
If it's here's my thing. It's in your head. What do you sound like in your head? You sound great, right?
Sometimes.
Like, well, if you are delusional and you have a persona in your head where you're this larger than life figure, then you sound good.
I thought his like performance during the musical numbers was very good.
Yeah.
Other than the tap dancing, you can clearly see that he's not tap dancing.
It wasn't matching.
Yeah, just make it match.
Or
like,
just
it
don't
would
show
have
the
been
feet
better.
at all.
Yeah, it would have made it better if you just make it match.
Just show the feet and have a double.
Yeah.
But I think that he was very nervous.
You're getting like 3 hits per one.
It's way slower. But he was very nervous about singing with Lady Gaga, apparently. She like kind of coached him through it. I mean, anybody would be. It's freaking Lady Gaga.
You're not a singer and you're going up, not against, but you're
sharing the stage
together with one of the best.
With an insane vocalist.
Yeah.
Even at her not singing at what I think is Lady Gaga's best, she was still definitely outshining him in the singing
Sure.
department.
Sure. I think he's a very good Arthur character. Arthur, whatever this Joker is, Joker.
Arthur Fleck.
You know, I think he plays the role really well.
Only 7.5 though, huh?
I told you I was
one of my favorite performers in the movie was the guy who played Gary Puddles.
Yeah.
Little person
Mhm.
who was from the first movie. I thought he put on a really good performance in his screen time. I just didn't know what to make of that scene overall. I feel like a lot of the performances in my eyes got hurt because of the scene that surrounds the performance.
Yeah, it was like a lot of the scenes seemed unconnected to other scenes.
Unconnected and or anticlimactic to the scene itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
The general flow of the movie.
And none of the courtroom stuff made any sense.
Just let him do whatever he wants.
None of that stuff would happen.
Order, Mr. Fleck, you're not going to run my court, but I will let you wear makeup and full costume, and I will let you say things that have nothing to, like, you can lead the witness. And
he wasn't even talking about the case at some points. Also, that interview that they did beforehand, like, where's his lawyer?
Dude,
and his lawyer was leading him when she first met with him. Do you feel dizzy? Do you feel lightheaded?
He was just getting his rocks off in the courtroom. He was like, "Did you watch me on Murray?" It's like, it didn't have anything to do with the line of questioning. He just wanted to relive this fantasy that he lived in.
I was great.
Yeah.
Did you not see my performance?
The realism is not there. I mean, it's, of course, the realism isn't there, but if you're trying to do a realistic Joker.
Yeah, ultra realistic, then you got to get the courtroom better.
Yeah.
It's got to be more past.
Letting him wear the makeup was a skosh too far for me.
Yeah. But he does look phenomenal in the makeup.
The makeup looks good.
Gotta admit.
Yeah.
He looks really good.
The design looks good. I'm on board with like changing the costuming a little bit. I mean, it's not the traditional colors we see for the Joker suit. It's a little bit different, but it looks good. It's just, that's why I'm perfectly okay with creative license.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you disregard the character themselves in everything but name is how I see it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to our next category, and that is cinematography. This is my personal favorite. We already talked a little bit about the cinematography in our intro portion of this show, but the cinematography includes a lot here for our category. We got all the camera work, so any of the oneers that were taking place, camera movement, lighting, color grade, also how it's being edited, the composition. There's a lot that goes in, any CGI or special effects that we're seeing. That's in this category here. I gave it a 10 out of 10.
I gave it a 9.
A 9. Dang. Well, don't seem so excited. You seem upset that you're giving it a... I have to give it a 9.
I think it's by far the best element in an otherwise unenjoyable movie for me. I think that, like we talked about, the animated scene at the beginning is animated phenomenally. That whole little Joker story of Can't Escape My Shadow. It was done really well. It was exciting and thrilling for the opening of the movie. The oneers, there's like 5 complex oneers throughout this movie that are, very exciting to the eye. The first one being when literally the opening of the movie after the animation, when he comes out of his cell, it follows him, down the hall into doing the laundry. Then at the end, there's obviously the notable oneer as the courthouse has exploded. Everything from Arthur waking up until running past that movie theater. He gets in a car, rides down, gets out of the
crazy oneer.
The camera follows him up the rubble, down the rubble.
Yeah.
It follows him into a car where the camera is now in a car with him, and it's panning to show him and then the people in the front seat. I don't know how they did that so complex in the car. They're showing other cars driving by, so now they're choreographing other cars, passing them at the right time in the tunnel on the street.
There's a few cuts in there?
It would have been hard to spot, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, because I didn't really notice cuts.
They didn't, at least from memory, they didn't have any clear, like, something crossing the
camera,
frame.
Like in the Kingsman fights,
super obvious.
Where like a whole person comes across the frame.
Yeah.
They didn't have any swipes like that I noticed.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked very clean, and it's just incredible to imagine how smooth the camera movement is the whole time. Especially to me, it really dawned on me when he gets out of the car. The people.
And then starts running, and the camera's going with him.
Yeah, the camera gets out of the car with him, and then it's like going at a fast pace as he's running down the street. So what, you got the camera onto some kind
like
of
that.
rig and started the camera driving?
It's like that meme where it's like Flash is the fastest man alive,
The
and then it
cameraman
cuts to the
running
cameraman
backwards.
with him.
Yeah, that was especially breathtaking. But then on top of that, I'll let you take it away. This is
The
your
lighting
category.
was phenomenal.
That's exactly, you knew.
So
You knew.
freaking good. Every single piece was chef's kiss. Beautiful.
So many cigarettes were smoked in this movie.
Dude, can you even make a cinematic movie without cigarettes?
At this
I
point, I
don't
don't
think
know.
you can. I think that's the secret recipe to like really push it over the top.
It gets better with each
I want to
cigarette.
smoke now. Like, is there something that I can smoke where it's just the vapor?
No,
Like,
honestly, though, why is smoking so much more cinematic than vaping? Vaping, instantly not cinematic.
dude, yeah,
But
'cause
it's both,
fake.
they're both
It's
just
fake.
smoke.
Yeah, it's fake. It's not real. It's not good enough.
Yeah, it definitely romanticizes smoking in a way that brings back
Dude,
to
when
like the 60s.
He does. I don't know how many times he does this. Probably higher than our scores of this movie combined. Is where he like goes back
And just,
and smoke going out of his mouth. It's like, man, he looks so cool. I can't even complain that this is his 14th time doing that.
yeah, it looks great on camera. And then, I mean, the piano on fire, the way that lighting matched up with the spotlight from the blues to the reds, the warms to the colder tones is they balance the frame really well. And the framing in general in this movie is amazing. Like the shot of Arthur through the cell where he's framed with the square of the opening of the cell. Gorgeous framing the whole time.
Don't you wish that they would have had the forethought to just make this Joker an actual Joker and put it in the same world as the Batman?
I'd be so hyped for the next Batman movie for the Joker to be a villain if they phenomenally executed a solo Joker movie in that style.
Yeah, because it looks phenomenal. The cinematography for both the Joker movies is on the same level as the cinematography for the Batman, but their style is different.
Yeah.
It's not the same at all. There's a lot of differences between them.
Dude.
They do a lot more oneers, like you said, in the Joker. The frame is cleaner in the Joker, which would be like an interesting like contrast for the Batman. The Batman's dirty and blurred and,
It's like
and
grittier.
imperfect.
It's
And
grittier visually, but then like you said, it's more controlled in the sense of the length of the shots are held.
yeah.
So it's like a cool mashup between the
Yeah.
two.
So like it would have been really cool to like, all right, we got a Joker movie, then we get a Batman movie, we got another Joker movie maybe, and then they come together for a movie. Dude, that would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, better marketing for the next movie.
Yeah.
Connected.
And I like Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, just make him the Joker.
If his Joker was totally different, I would agree with you.
Well, he performs the
He's
character really
a
well.
phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
Who is playing, I guess, the Joker.
If this wasn't the Joker and it was called Happy, wouldn't you be like, oh, like he could totally play the Joker?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
And I'd be like, change the character.
yeah, but put it in the same world as the Batman.
Yeah,
That would have been cool.
it would have been cool. This movie, it just is so fantastic. I love the magic realism elements. Like in the trailer, we talked about how cool it looked to have that aerial shot looking down with the rain as they're walking through the courtyard and they have the 4 different colored umbrellas, which was magic realism when you come to find out in the movie that those umbrellas were actually black because they show the umbrellas go from black to colorful to black again. Kind of like insinuating that the world's a little bit more colorful in Arthur's mind. One thing I thought was really interesting in this movie is apparently they shoot with long lenses, which gives them a higher contrast with their focus. So they have like a really sharp focus on Arthur. So you'll notice if you may have noticed already if you watch the movie, but if you go back and rewatch it, pay attention to this, you'll see that Arthur's really sharply in focus and his world is very heavily out of focus behind him many, many times in the movie. And this is, I believe, from an artistic point of view to highlight the separation that Arthur feels between himself and the world and make the audience feel that as well, make the audience feel connected to Arthur while also feeling how Arthur is disconnected from the rest of the world because we see him so clearly. We feel resonant with Arthur, but we feel disconnected from the world of Gotham that he lives in. So I feel like everything is obviously from Todd Phillips' perspective very intentional. I just did not, even though something's intentional, doesn't always make it work for every audience member. And a lot of the elements did not work for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, a longer lens, what that's doing is it's compressing the background. So it's making everything appear larger, come closer, but it's all blurred. So like you said, the subject is the only thing that's in focus and everything else is kind of this creamy mesh behind them. and it looks really cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, and then it works on the story beat as well. So I mean, on top of the movie looking good, there's also all these metaphors that you can apply to it, like when we talked about the fire and the cold light. I mean, can say that applies to Arthur's mentality. They're inside of him. There's this turmoil, and then there's also like this cold detachment as well. So that's what he's confused between: is am I a mess? Am I in control? Am I the fire? Or am I, the cold light?
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go on to our next category, and that is sound design. Sound design includes a few things. We got the score, the soundtrack. In this case, all of their songs that they did with their musical numbers, and then all the Foley work, which is your sound effects of everything. Because pretty much any sound effect you hear in the film is recorded after the fact, because the microphones on set are, for the most part, just getting dialogue. So for this, let me. I got off of my page here. Let me go here.
You want to do my score?
For my rating, I got it right here. I give it an 8 out of 10 for sound design, which I think is going to be a lot higher than yours. I could probably drop this at least a half a point, maybe a full point, because I don't think I considered the musical numbers when I was making this list.
That's the main thing I considered.
Yeah, yeah, because I really liked all of the score of it.
I gave it a 5 out of 10, and to me that is solely because you can't market and call a movie a musical and then not have good songs in the movie.
I hate to do this again, but I'm going to bring down mine to a 7.
Okay.
To a 7. Because I don't think I gave the full weight of the musical numbers.
The Joker score, I agree with you. The Joker score is good.
Yeah, it's good. I thought the Foley work was really good as well. It's just those musical numbers that they're just not catchy enough, right? Like, I can't think of what one of them sounds like.
I can only think of one of them.
A week and a half later, like I still got to get your head in the game from High School Musical. That's years later. Like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Wow. So I'm just looking at some of the comparisons to the first Joker because I want to look at their awards. I was wondering if they won, what Oscars they won. So the first Joker has an 8.4 with 1.5 million ratings, whereas this one had whatever you said, 5.8, I think, 5 point something. So yeesh. But I want to look at what Oscars they won and see if they were nominated for their score on the first one. Maybe we can circle back around at the end and guess if we think this will get any nominations. Academy Award nominee for Best Motion Picture, Academy Award nominee for Best Achievement in Directing for Todd Phillips, winner for Joaquin Phoenix for playing the Joker, nominee for Best Adapted Screenplay, nominee for Cinematography, nominee for Costume Design, oh my god, nominee for Makeup and Hairstyling, winner for Best Achievement in Music written for Motion Picture Original Score. So Hilder, who I mentioned, who also did the music for this one, won an Oscar. Nominee for Best Achievement in Film Editing, Jeff Groth, again on the first one.
Wow.
Nominee for Best Achievement in Sound Mixing, and nominee for Sound Editing.
So they got nominated in basically every category that they could.
Yeah, except for the actress and supporting actor categories. Because there's not really a leading.
Yeah.
Well, the way people took that first movie, a little bit too much of that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 nominations, 2 wins.
That's crazy. Is there any other big drop off like this from the first to the second movie?
In terms of financially, I can say superheroes, definitely Captain Marvel and Aquaman.
Yeah.
Your 2 movies that you picked for your box office team.
I'm talking about even
quality in terms of
all these nominations, and they actually won 2 you said? 3?
2 Oscars.
I don't know if they'll get nominated solely on the feedback of this movie.
I think that they still have a chance for cinematography. Yeah. And then maybe some acting categories. Yeah. Those are always wild cards.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next category. That's set and character design. We rate this out of 5 points. This is the more of the reason why everything looks the way it looks, from their sets, from their costumes, and hair, makeup, and all of that. I gave this a 4 out of 5. I thought everything looked phenomenal. Even the musical numbers, I think, looked really good, even if it didn't necessarily help the story resonate for you.
For as differently as we feel about this movie, this is the second one where we have the exact same score. I also gave it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, nice. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, briefly. I thought that
I mean, yeah, I don't want to give it too much praise though, so only briefly.
it's just that I really thought that the courtroom set and the Arkham set did look very good. I like how it still has that gothic style that we associate with Gotham from the first movie and from the Batman. It has like that old school kind of jagged edges, historic, kind of gritty feeling to it. Arkham, although I thought it was cool that they had this whole prison design, it was a little bit bland. Um, and then just the practical elements on the set, like they have that blown out wall for the oneer where there's just rubble coming out of the courtroom and they climb out of that. And then the time we did spend on the streets of their Gotham it always looks really good. It looks, downtrodden. And also they established in this movie that Gotham City is in New York in their world, which has been some contention in the DC world about that because Gotham has long been associated with being the New York of the DC world, but then so has Metropolis as well. So then Gotham kind of got pushed to being like DC's New Jersey or something like that. I kind of think of Gotham as like a Chicago. I mean, they use Chicago to shoot for, I think, the Batman and the Dark Knight, Nolan's movies. So I think of Gotham more like a Chicago. But they mentioned that the People's Court of New York in this movie. So Gotham City, New York in this world just doesn't conflict because it's its own world.
By itself, yeah. I forget what it was. Oh, I think I've already said it. The Joker looked phenomenal.
Harley looked good.
I liked Harley. Yeah, I was going to say hers next.
Lee.
Lee.
Excuse me.
Come on.
Yeah, can't get too close to calling them something from the comics.
Come on.
Got to change her
That's
name
for
and everything.
children, Andrew.
I mean, I talked about a lot.
This is real art.
I talked at length about how Arthur is nothing like the Joker, but Lee is nothing like Harley. She doesn't have that fanatical obsession with the Joker. She doesn't have that like victim to heroin kind of mentality and shift. And she's even been strong enough to switch and fight on the side of the heroes in multiple instances. I mean, in the Injustice comic line, stuff like that.
Do you want to touch on at all how you were right in our trailer reaction? How she's actually like a patient.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple times now. We called her out as being a patient in the trailer, saying that that's different than the comics, because obviously in the comics, Dr. Harleen Quinzel is the psychiatrist for the Joker in Arkham Asylum. One of the first times he's put in Arkham, she is his therapist, and he seduces her, coerces her to the dark side, so to speak, and leads her into this life of crime to go from Dr. Harleen Quinzel to becoming Harley Quinn, his sidekick, abusive love interest, and she's just a patient, and she's the patient trying to manipulate Arthur. She checked herself into the prison. She had a wealthy background. It says she studied psychology, but it doesn't say if she graduated or they kind of stripped her of her background, stripped her of what makes her herself in terms of her personality, her education, her career, and changed her to a totally different character. But the Joker's background is nothing like it was in the comics either. And this is my quick source code segment, but the Joker's background in the comics was that he was a struggling comedian. He had a wife and a child. He took on a job with the mafia, with gangs and the mob to rob Ace Chemicals because he had previously worked there or currently worked there, and he had inside knowledge of the schematics of the building. So this gang, the Red Hood gang, pays him to help them and be an accomplice to sneak into Ace Chemicals and do a robbery. The Red Hood gang has a red hood that they put over one member of the heist, the most important member of the heist. Every time they do a heist, it switches between people to keep the anonymity of this like Red Hood figure alive. So he's wearing the hood when they go into Ace Chemicals. Batman shows up to stop them, and through the series of events of them trying to get away, Joker Arthur ends up inadvertently falling into a vat of chemicals and he gets flooded out the drain system and escapes, but the chemicals seep into his body, which irreparably change his body and mind, giving his skin that white pigment, his hair the green color. It turns his eyes yellow, his teeth rot yellow, and his mind is, like I said, irreparably damaged. He becomes psychotic, maniacal, and that's where we get the birth of the Joker tied in with the creation of the Batman. It's early years of the Batman, where Batman created his greatest villain, the Joker. That is the main comic book representation of the creation of the Joker, which we didn't have for a long time. The Joker was always this mysterious figure with like a mysterious background. You get a slightly altered version in Scott Snyder's comics, which I mentioned earlier in the episode, where we don't know if the original Red Hood / Joker died and was replaced with a new mantle, giving even more anonymity and confusion to the character, but the character generally has like a mysterious background. If you look at his bio in the Arkham games for like everything about him, it says unknown, 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 because they don't know the Joker's background. They don't know his date of birth. Like they find him in The Dark Knight. It's like no fingerprints, no tags on his clothes. We don't know anything about this guy. There's nothing to tie him to where he came from, nothing to tie him to a real identity. He is the Joker. The identity is more important than anything. Then we get to this movie where the identity is less important than anything, and it's something he's casting aside in this new movie. So he's a totally different person as Arthur Fleck. There's none of the chemical involvement, base chemicals. He's just a failing comedian, clown turned criminal. That's it.
How much safer do you think these cities would be without just giant pots of chemicals laying around uncovered?
If people weren't basically, scientific advancement is the herald of darkness in the comic book world, because every hero or villain has their life irreparably altered and damaged by some kind of scientific experiment. Whether you're Spider-Man, whether you're Joker, whether you're Bane, some kind of new chemical gets into
The Hulk
turns you super strong, turns you invisible, turns you into a monster. Yeah. Scarlet Witch and
I need to find myself a chemical bath. See what kind of powers I'd get.
Super death.
Yeah.
Super coma.
Like I could kill people easily.
Yeah.
All right, our last category is rewatchability. So this is the way we phrase this category is if you were doing nothing else and someone asked you to watch this movie 5 times, how many times would you say yes? I give it a 1.
Care to guess my score?
Probably a 0.
Yeah.
0. Yeah. So that brings my score, with my score changes as we're going through and discussing, to a 6.9 out of 10. What does that bring yours to?
I think it was a 5.2. Let me double check. 5.5. My score is 5.5. So higher than IMDb, because I think IMDb was the 5.2, right?
5.3.
Yeah, so I'm higher than IMDb.
Yeah.
But I think our score does balance out some components. Like you said, I probably would have given it a lower score off the cuff, which I technically did by my Letterboxd score.
Yeah.
I think that
Your Letterboxd scores aren't real. They're just gut instincts, gut predictions.
They're real, though. They're real to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at my Letterboxd review and see what I wrote.
I was looking. Earlier, you compared this movie to The Flash. And I was like, there's no way. This movie's definitely made better than The Flash. And my highest category that I gave to The Flash was sound design. At, guess what it was?
7?
A 6 was the highest. I gave a 3 for story, 3 for acting, 4 for cinematography, a 2 for set character design, and a 0 for rewatchability. There's no way that this is as bad as The Flash. And your score is quite a bit lower as well.
Inarguably, the Joker 2 is better made.
Yes.
But also, The Flash as a popcorn flick, I think has more entertainment value. I think I would go back and rewatch The Flash sooner. Also, I looked up my review. It's 2 stars. This movie puts the butt in cigarette butt.
Should have put
the end.
This movie puts the sexy back in smoking.
Yeah, that's what I said. The butt back in cigarette butt. Man, underwhelming as a movie. Yeah, that's my overall recap. I did not enjoy it. Don't enjoy the characters or the representations. You've heard here at length why. Please argue in the comments and let me know why you think I'm wrong. Tell me what I got wrong about the origins of the characters. I didn't. I actually think I even know the Joker's origin. I think his first comic appearance was in 1942 or 1943. He appeared shortly after Batman. Batman's 1939.
You want to go on to that one thing?
Another what?
You want to talk about that one part that we're supposed to talk about?
Yes. Okay, we wanted to talk about our box office draft. So if you don't follow the show, stick around for this. It's very funny. So you're the Joker. So every year for this last 2 years, me and Aaron do a box office draft. Religiously and reliably. We do a box office draft, and Aaron...
It is the best draft!
Aaron religiously and reliably loses the box office draft. He's a loser. A loser. So
it is rigged. It is rigged.
There was a lot of mail-in drafts. So we each pick
lies. A lot of lies being spread. I am the best.
we each pick 5 movies. We go back and forth in a draft. We do a coin toss. Who goes first? We each pick 5 movies for a team, and whoever's team brings in more money in revenue internationally, globally, the total of money for their team, they win. So we're gonna do it updated. Aaron found the numbers for each of our movies. 3 of mine have come out. I think all of his have. Aaron, I'll pass you the mic.
All right, so Andrew's right. All my movies came out. I have Inside Out 2, the captain of my team. My first round pick. These are all in our draft orders as well, based off of what we picked. Inside Out 2 brought in $1.694 billion, highest grossing movie of the year. And you're thinking, wow, no chance Andrew will ever be able to beat Aaron with the highest grossing movie of the year. And boy, are you wrong. I have, for my second pick, I had Joker Folie. Don't.
Okay.
And that is at 164.9 million. You heard that right? Million, not million. And then we go to Kung Fu Panda 4, which I was hoping would be a good entry. You know, the other movies were pretty reliable, sitting probably average at the 600 mark. That's about where this movie came in at. Not terrible. $549.2 million. Respectable. That's a respectable.
No, that's a good number.
That's a good number right there.
This has been a pretty good box office year, but it may land in the top 10. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Then we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Which I was hoping would bring in a little bit more than it did, considering how well received the original, or not the original, but the most recent trilogy was. This brought in $397.378 million.
At least so far. No, never mind. I was going to say that you picked them in like the money earning order, but Joker screwed that up.
Thank you. And then my last movie, should have known. It was a girl lead. It didn't have a chance. I should have known.
And hey, we went to go see it.
We did.
We support
because we're supportive.
We support
of the female
led movies. Absolutely,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But society failed you. It failed you.
Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. $173.7 million.
God, man, the Joker's almost there.
This was worse than my team last year,
dude.
Quite a bit. My worst movie last year was The Marvels at 204.9.
Yeah, so Furiosa's below that. Aaron's gonna put his head through the table. All right, let's talk about brighter pastures. What did my team earn, Aaron?
For the first pick of the draft, Andrew took first overall pick, because Andrew goes first every time, which coincidentally leads to the win.
Okay, but let's look at your second pick overall when we're talking about that.
Despicable Me 4 brought in $964.3 million.
It's so crazy because I when it first came out, I didn't think it was going to do nearly that because its opening weekend numbers were. I thought it was going to stall. Like it stalled around 600.
Should have,
but Despicable Me movies, I shouldn't have never doubted them because they stay in theaters and they
for like the whole freaking year.
They keep earning. They just keep. They never die out.
If I had the first pick, I would have picked this.
Yeah.
So,
but then what if I got Inside Out too?
I don't know. Probably would still pick the Joker because I'm an idiot. Then you have Deadpool and Wolverine. $1.334 billion.
Say that louder, please.
$1.334
billion.
$1.334 billion for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Hell yeah.
Dune Part 2 was the highest grossing movie of the year for a very long time. This came out forever ago at $714.4 million. I only have one movie that's higher than your movies. It is higher than all of your movies.
Yeah.
But all my other movies are like 200 or more million dollars below. So that brings, you're probably wondering, oh, what's the total? What's the total?
Yeah, let me do that quick.
That's what everyone's asking for. My total, I have 2.979 billion, and Andrew has 310 310 billion.
Are you announcing here that
Sorry, I said that wrong. 3 billion, 10 million.
Are you announcing here that I've already beaten you with 3 movies?
No. The Joker Folie is still in theaters, my friend.
Bro.
You better watch out. I'm only like 50 million away from taking you down.
You are cooked. You have to make 50 million more with Joker, and then I have to make $0 on Gladiator 2 and the Lion King Mufasa story.
I think those are going to bring in negative money for sure. The box office is going to pay people not to go.
I've got a Gladiator sequel coming out, which the first movie adjusted for inflation was like $1 billion. And then I've got a Disney Lion King movie coming out. You are so cooked. You are cooked beyond belief. Dude, you can concede defeat now and save yourself and your family so much shame.
Thank you for watching this episode of Backseat Directing. Please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or everywhere else as well. I'm sure you know what the social medias are. Go there, visit, sign up, join our Discord. We already talked about the Discord. Goodbye.